Hello, and welcome to Ashes Forum Watch, the show where we take a look at some of the discussions happening on the Ashes of Creation official forums and see what the community is saying about it. Today, we're looking at a thread titled, "Should the final boss be instanced or open world?" The title is pretty self-explanatory. Usually, a major piece of content in an MMORPG has a main big baddie that the players must defeat. Since Ashes of Creation is set to feature both open world and instance raids, should the final boss be instanced or open world? The responses to this thread have been really odd actually. There's been a lot of people who are in favour of open world raids, which I'm personally not a fan of. It was quite surprising for various different reasons. For example, Santanico replies and says, "Open world. Having to worry about people interfering makes it all that harder and more impressive if you pull it off." And Vane expands on this concept with the opinion that you don't actually need the final boss, that the players themselves should be the final boss. He says, "I would have to say that the concept of epic quest lines leading up to the final boss is a flawed one in itself. Intrepid can tell me that I'm wrong about their vision for the game if I am, but in my opinion, we are the final boss. The wars we have with each other should be the final boss. Any dragons or powerful monsters in the world are just resources to be fought over. The only story I care about is my node versus whomever wants to take it. This is a living story that we can all participate in. In this way, all bosses can and should be open world. Feel free to disagree, but I have stated many times that MMOs need to be moving away from set quests and storylines, and move deeper into systems that harvest natural player interaction and immersion stories. A little bit of background lore and setting is fine to give players a starting point, but we do not need to have the devs drip feed a story every 6 months like in World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. Other people have been in favour of the instance bosses, mostly to do with the mechanics and the performance. Marzo replies, stating, "I can't understand how anybody wants an epic encounter in the open world. The lags, the tank and spank mechanics, just ugh. Just the fact that a boss is balanced around the fact that troll guilds will come and try to stop you makes me cringe. It's a sad truth that open world bosses are just there to be cool. The only challenge is using brain power to spawn camp it and hope some scrubs don't come and mess up the fight. If nobody comes and messes up the fight, the boss will be a cakewalk, since you can't make a boss with deep mechanics open world. Never seen it in any game." There have been a bit of back and forth through these different arguments, but one final thing I do want to bring up, which I found very interesting, is Wath's reply. He says, "I think it would be pretty awesome if the last story arc ends up in a massive, massive boss fight that takes most of the players on the server at this time. Through raid-sized sub-bosses spawning all around the world map, packs of raiding monsters pillaging cities, freeholds, etc., like an event that would actually be befitting for a final boss. Afterwards, he can respawn as a raid tier boss, either instanced or non-instanced, but the first kill should be a massive event with server-wide effort and consequences if failed to kill within a time frame." This is very, very interesting, and I can see both sides of the argument here. Definitely, for a game like Ashes, where there's a heavy open world and PvP focus, it makes more sense to have the bosses be open world. And I do see Vane's point that the players are the story and they are the final boss rather than the monsters themselves. They are just resources. On the other hand, I personally love raiding, and I agree with Marzo that open world bosses physically cannot be that complex due to various things that you can't really account for in an open world, like the sheer amount of people, the sheer amount of performance lag that happens there. And generally speaking, the more players that you add into an encounter, the less complex you can make the mechanics in that encounter. So I definitely can see both arguments, but I'm curious to see what you all think. So feel free, I will link the thread in the video description for you, so you can either reply to the thread directly or reply in the comment section below, and I will take a look there and do my best to discuss things with you and answer questions that you may have. For now though, I'm going to head off. Have a fantastic day everybody. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.